I'm Mixer Johnny, and I'm going to be saying how they can bring Harley Quinn back from the brink of destruction to honor Harley Sorkin. Harley Sorkin was the original voice actor who did Harley Quinn in Batman the Animated Series. It's because of her voice acting why Harley Quinn showed up so many times in Batman the Animated Series. And it's because of Harley Sorkin's voice acting is why Harley Quinn being so popular nowadays. Harley Sorkin died in 2023. And the reason why I'm only doing it 6 days after her death is because I need to make sure it's good to honor her. And everyone else has already done tribute videos to her, so I want to throw my 2 cents in there too, but do it in my own original way. This would be a DC Comics Black Label movie. A 4-hour movie to fit in all the stuff there and to make sure it breathes. And it can be over 4 hours, but only a little bit over 4 hours. And only over 4 hours, not any more than that. Set in the same continuity as Dawn of DC's Justice Society of America. And what Black Label means in DC Comics is that it being up to the viewer to decide if it's canon to the continuity of DC Comics at the time or not. It would tell 3 stories in the animated movie. And because Harley Quinn was created in Batman the Animated Series and later made her way into the comic books, you can just put the continuity of this movie in DC Comics in order to fix that version of Harley Quinn. Which would be especially good now because currently with James Gunn's DCU, them treating all forms of DC Comics forms of media as one continuity like the Star Wars films, and then going from comic books to cartoons to live action movies to video games. And you should also make it that Harley Quinn has her original costume from Batman the Animated Series in this movie since you are doing it to honor Harley Sorkin. And if you really need to acknowledge the modern Harley Quinn, you can just make that her usual clothes when she's not wearing her Harley Quinn costume. And with her just wearing makeup when she's in her Harley Quinn costume, because her being thrown into the same tub of chemicals as the Joker just made it even more of a cheap knockoff of the Joker. In the first story, we would see Harley Quinn realize how much of a low point she's been for the past few years. And for how many years it would be since the New 52. Then you would say it was so bad that people even made shows and movies about how much of a low point it was for her. You would use that to make fun of the terrible movies and shows she's been in recently. Like make fun of Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn for being the New 52 version of Harley Quinn and for ruining her so much, and completely butchering Harley Quinn. Then make fun of the Harley Quinn Kelsey Coco show. Because she made fun of the original Harley Sorkin Harley Quinn voice from Batman the Animated Series, even though Harley Quinn was based on Harley Sorkin. Because she was college friends with Paul Dini, the guy who created Harley Quinn. So this would be a good way of not letting her get away with it scot-free. And by making fun of Kelsey Coco, because she made fun of Harley Sorkin just for doing Kelsey Coco's job better than her. Then her also making fun of the New 52 Harley Quinn for being such a butchered stripper version of her. But with her actually liking Tara Strong's version of Harley Quinn and being glad that she's going to be carrying on the mantle. Then she would imagine what her life would be if her life was different and if it was better than the life she was living now. Like if she was Harley Sorkin playing a jester in a soap opera, then she would wonder if any of that stuff really did happen, but then she would decide it being okay because it being good either way if it happened or not. Then the storyline would end with her wanting to get back to basics and wanting to prove herself. Then at the end of this first story, she would say, "I'm only laughing on the outside, my smile is only skin deep. If you look a little closer, I'm actually crying. Maybe you'll join me for a weep." Then it would start raining, then she would start crying, then she would say in a deep Brooklyn Dixie accent, "Sometimes the rain comes down so hard, you forget you haven't been dry. I try to remember, I really do. The rain seeps into I mouth it. I stop trying, I go inside, and I drink." Because not only does this say how Harley Quinn feels right now after all this that happened to her, it actually defying Harley Quinn perfectly, well, at least the original good version of Harley Quinn. Then we'd also see her having relationships and how her relationships work with other DC characters, but only the ones that make sense for her to have a relationship with them. Like her helping the original Harley Quinn from the Golden Age. That was the original Green Lantern, Alan Scott's wife, who was created before she was, and is DC's original Harley Quinn. The original Harley Quinn would be angry at Harley Quinn. The modern Harley Quinn would tell her it being an accident and she didn't even know about her when she took up the identity. But after her becoming a supervillain, she became a big fan of the original Harley Quinn. So, Harley Quinn helped the original Harley Quinn come out of retirement and prove herself as a good supervillain before the original Harley Quinn going back into retirement for her kids. Then the modern Harley Quinn would help the original Harley Quinn's daughter and the Harley Quinn's son prove themselves as supervillains, but then she would also help them become superheroes. She would even put in a good word for them for the Justice Society, so them becoming a part of the Justice Society. We'd see her be nice and a good friend to the Mad Hatter, but then the Mad Hatter would try to mind control her and then she would beat the snot out of him. Then she would exchange some psychology with Scarecrow. And while Scarecrow does see Harley Quinn as a delight on occasion, she's getting sick and tired of him always trying to fear gas her. Then we would see her relationship with the Gotham City Sirens, in that they're the only ones who ever treated her good. And because of her not really being used to having good people in her life, her not really knowing how to react or comprehend it, she is loyal to Catwoman because to her, Catwoman is a kitty. And her being loyal to Poison Ivy because she's her best friend, and because Poison Ivy is a supervillain, that's why her staying a supervillain. And why, if she ever does reform and becomes a therapist at Arkham again, her helping Poison Ivy there. Because she definitely doesn't want to become a superhero and fight against Poison Ivy. Then in the second story, we'd see Harley Quinn have a dream about her life being different as a gesture to a Joker King. No matter what the Harley Quinn gesture did, she couldn't entertain the Joker King. The Joker King was only interested in killing the Bat Demon hero of the land. So the Harley Quinn Jester convinced the Joker King to do a specific plan against the Demon Bat hero of the land. The Harley Quinn Jester did mess up with trying to kill the Bat hero, but because of her messing up, her being able to humiliate the Bat hero, which entertained the Joker King. The Harley Quinn Jester was happy that she finally entertained the Joker King. But then the Harley Quinn Jester got sad because she knew that it was fleeting and that she would never be able to entertain the Joker King again. And her needing to deal with the Joker King not being entertained by her for the rest of her life. Then Harley Quinn would wake up from the dream and then she would say, story of my life. But I got used to it. Then for the rest of the Laugh Pack, make it that Shorty fixed things up with the original Joker's sidekick Gaggy. And while Gaggy is Joker's Robin, Harley Quinn is Joker's Batgirl. So whatever kind of friendship Batgirl had with Robin, Harley Quinn having the same friendship with Gaggy. And with them still being friends after she left the Laugh Pack. But Harley Quinn doesn't blame Gaggy for wanting to kill her for the Joker. Then for Prank, she would be like a mother to Prank. With her seeing him as her and the Joker's son, she still sees him as her son, even though that she's not in love with the Joker anymore. Then you would make it that Harley Quinn still helps Prank with his supervillain crimes to prove himself as an A-lister villain and that he's not just the Joker's sidekick like how she was. Then for Punch and Julie, there would be two henchmen of the Jokers named Punch and Julie, but also the two other supervillains named Punch and Julie. Because Punch and Julie are already so similar to Joker and Harley Quinn, if you did them usually working together with each other, it would make them look less like a cheap knockoff of Joker and Harley Quinn. Plus, Punch and Julie are some of the original and most iconic villains of Captain Atom. Plus, they do have a kid, so that's another thing that makes them different from Joker and Harley Quinn. And Punch and Julie are part of the Suicide Squad, so that's another thing that makes them different from Joker and Harley Quinn, and another thing that's good for good stories. You can even make it how they met and how they became good friends with them all being in the Suicide Squad together at one time. You can just do Harley Quinn being friends with Julie, and that Harley Quinn used to long for to have a kid with the Joker like how Punch and Julie had a kid with each other. Harley would even relate to Julie about them both being clown villains and girlfriends of other clown villains. And you even doing a joke that she even had a sleepover with Punch and Julie with Catwoman and Poison Ivy. Then for Harley Quinn's relationship with Jack and H, Joker's gorilla where he gets all his tech from, it would be a combination of Harley Quinn's relationship with her hyenas combined with like how the Joker was a father to Jack and Apes, Harley Quinn was like a mother to Jack and Apes. Then for the Joker's daughter, her being like a daughter to Harley Quinn, after Harley Quinn finding out that her being Harley Quinn's daughter in another dimension with the Joker. So she cared about the Joker's daughter because at the time Harley Quinn wanted that to be her dimension's life, and that she longed for that to happen in her dimension. Then for Punchline, you making it that she's more of Harley Quinn's sidekick, and Harley Quinn being like a mentor to her. Then for the Jester, you would need to make it that the Jester comes from a long line of supervillains, but the modern Jester decided to be a superhero with his sister, because his grandpa fought against the Justice Society, but his barber joined the Freedom Fighters. And the Jester just joined the Laugh Pack so he can go against the Joker and prove himself as a good guy, and him being able to join the Justice Society after it. Harley Quinn found out about it and helped him do it because of her already being broken up with the Joker at that time. And because of it, the Jester and his sister are the best friends of the original Golden Age Harley Quinn's daughter and the original Golden Age Harley Quinn's son. And the Jester and his sister became part of the Justice Society. And you can also make it that Charles Lane is a cousin family to Lois Lane's family because both of their last names are already Lane. You can even make Charlie Lane, the Jester, a reporter in his secret identity. That would make him similar to Lois Lane and something they can bond over with. And usually, superhero girlfriends are the reporters in their relationships, so if Charles Lane, the Jester, is a reporter, that would be more original for him specifically. If you do this, it will be good for the Joker family, and it will also flesh out Harley Quinn more by showing her relationships with the rest of the DC Universe characters she already has relationships with. It would be perfect since he started out with the Joker, and so it being a perfect thing you doing how important she is to the Laugh Pack. Plus it is good to give this movie something to stand on its own with, and something for other superhero and supervillain fans. Then for the last story, you do Harley Quinn trying to be a superhero because Batman saved her and Poison Ivy's life, but her going back to being a supervillain after she stopped the Joker from killing Batman, so her returning the favor to Batman by saving Batman's life. But really she would be helping supervillains to get away from Batman because they're friends of hers, especially Poison Ivy. And she would also keep messing up the supervillains trying to kill Batman and Batman trying to stop the supervillains. And the villains she would fight against would be other villains created in other forms of media, or would change heavily because of their appearance in other forms of media. There would be Livewire because she's Superman's version of Harley Quinn, because they're both girl supervillains who ended up in the comic books later and became iconic in their superheroes' rogues galleries. in Volcanic because people were really liking her from Superman the Animated Series, so her appearing in this animated movie might just be the sign that Iron Volcanic needs to start appearing in more other forms of media. And Knockup because they already met up in the animated series Harley Quinn and Knockup. So it would be good her fighting against Knockup specifically to get revenge about how bad he treated her in Arkham. And the judge because of him having similar reasons to lock up for fighting against Harley Quinn. The judge is Harvey Dent's third personality. After Harvey Dent became Two-Face, the judge was created in reaction to it to fight crime, to make up for all the crimes the alternate personality Two-Face did. And from all the trauma Harvey Dent faced from the Two-Face personality doing those crimes. Which is a good idea. He was even going to be the main villain of a thrown-away Batman Arkham game idea. You should also throw in a fourth personality called Janus, which is the Greek god of justice. Because that was Two-Face's third personality in the comic books, but it was changed in the new Batman Adventures to the Judge, which is much better anyways. But if you do this, not only would you have the better personality of the Judge, you would also have all the goodness that came from his third personality in the comics, Janus. You can just make it being a side effect because of Two-Face not having his coins to make his decisions in No Man's Land. And from a side effect of him being possessed by the actual Roman god of justice, Janus. From Wonder Woman's Road Sky, who looks like Wonder Woman because of her taking the shape of what the Greek gods think is the most definitive version of justice on the mortal world. And for Janus possessing Two-Face, it would be because of him being half a supervillain and half a good person, so he would be the perfect guy to be her agent on the mortal world. Then because he's already a villain to Batman, she'd use him to go against Batman because of Batman being an ally to Wonder Woman and sometimes dating Wonder Woman. So Janus would do this so Wonder Woman wouldn't have any help in defeating her. And for Janus to try to kill Batman to get to Wonder Woman and to hurt her in the worst way possible. And you'd also make it that the Judge was also created because of Two-Face suppressing Harvey Dent's need for justice. Which is why the Judge has Two-Face's violentness and also has Harvey Dent's own need for justice. The Judge is an anti-hero who kills supervillains. So for Two-Face's fourth personality, Janus, you would make it that he has the opposite personality to Two-Face's third personality, the Judge, and you would also make it that Janus is an anti-villain. Two-Face was also inspired to take up the Judge identity, who was the Judge friend of Harvey Dent, who was the judge at all of Harvey Dent's district attorney cases, who became a supervillain because a corrupt judge had separated him from his daughter and ruined his daughter's life, executed another friend of the original judge that Two-Face got the Judge identity from, and let the guy who killed the original Judge's daughter go. Because Quentin Gallows was being bribed by the Gotham City mob into doing a corrupt judge for supervillains' business. Because this was back when Batman first became a superhero in Gotham and started making a difference in Gotham. And there being a corrupt judge was just some of the leftovers from before Batman showed up in Gotham. So the original purple judge killed Quentin Gallows. Then he also died fighting against Batman, because Batman failed to save him. It also affecting Harvey Dent, which is partially why him being inspired by the Judge's personality to take up the mantle of the Judge. Then you'd also keep the corrupt judge for supervillains, but with all the other judges in the DC universe who are supervillains. Like Jacob D. Witt, the original judge's brother who stopped believing in the law after his brother died, and him starting a supervillain business being a corrupt judge for supervillains, and there even being a part of it in Bloodhaven, Nightwing City, where him being a villain to Nightwing there. While the Red Lantern villain, the Judge, and Green Lantern's Road Scholar would be that in Coast City and in space. There would be a new Flash villain that would take up the mantle of the Judge in Central City, the Flash's city, from Hunter's arm and Professor Zoom, the second Reverse Flash, who briefly used the mantle. Then the Teen Titans villain, the Judge, would be that and Jump City to the Teen Titans in their Rose Gallery. And the Sandman villain, the Judge, would be in charge of it and would stay as a villain for the Sandman. But for a villain for Morpheus, Dream of the Endless Sandman specifically, since that version of the Sandman is already from the dreaming, a place where dreams come from, and is the Sandman's domain. And for the alternate Judge Dredd version of Harvey Dent, you would keep that in an alternate universe version of Harvey Dent, and an alternate version of the DC villain, the Judge. And since Wonder ended up in Valhalla one time, the land of the honored in Norse mythology and the spirit world, you can make it the Norse mythology villain version of the Judge is the Norse mythology villain version of the Judge fighting against the Viking prince. And to see if Wonder Woman being worthy to being brought back to life, she is, and she does get brought back to life. You don't need to do this all in one animated movie. Just do a brief mention of it so in another form of media it being expanded upon. Then it becoming a good form of media in the other form of media, and then it would become the norm in the comic books. And also her being abused and treated badly at Arkham by some guards because she refused to give up information about where Poison Ivy is. Then Harley Quinn would try being Poison Ivy's sidekick for a while. Because it is bad that Poison Ivy is Harley Quinn's sidekick now, so this really shows that Harley Quinn should be Poison Ivy's sidekick. Or if Harley is going to be on her own, she's going to be fully on her own, not relying on her relationship with Poison Ivy like how she did with the Joker. Or making Poison Ivy her sidekick like how Joker turned her into his sidekick. Then she would psychoanalyze, and she would get psychoanalyzed by Scarecrow and Dr. Hugo Strange. Since they're all well known for being the most iconic therapist villains, especially in Batman's Rose Gallery, it'd be good to see this, especially in a Harley Quinn animated movie. A lot of people forget that Harley Quinn used to be a therapist, so you should put some of her knowing how to be a therapist in there. Then it would look like she killed Batman for a second, but then the Joker would go after her because he wants to be the one to kill Batman. Then it would turn out that Batman wasn't dead, but then Harley realized she almost killed Batman. She came so much closer than the Joker ever did. So then she tried to kill Batman and the whole Justice League. She would steal Amanda Waller's plans to take down the Justice League, not even for it, just in case they turn evil like how Batman would have. And uses them against the Justice League to try and kill them, along with her joke-themed weapons, and stealing Batman's utility belt or to destroy all the other Justice League technology, and tricking the Justice League into attacking each other by using her driving them crazy, and by using what little expert of psychology she has, to use the Thornway upgraded plans for the other supervillains and upgraded C-list and underrated supervillains that she did for her business and also for a favor for some of her supervillain friends. But then the Joker would mess it up, and then because of the Joker messing it up is why she didn't kill the Justice League. Then it would look like Batman failed to save Harley Quinn after she died. The Joker and a bunch of the other villains in the DC universe would go against the superheroes. Because we saw that Harley Quinn did a lot of good things for a lot of supervillains in her supervillain business. And we already see that she already had a lot of supervillain friends that actually cared about her earlier in the movie. And the Joker would hate people touching his stuff, and he would think that it would make him look like a cheap punk if he let the superheroes kill Harley Quinn, his girlfriend, or at least someone who used to be his girlfriend. So the supervillains going against the superheroes in this DC animated movie wouldn't come out of nowhere. Then it would look like Batman died. Then in the end it would look like the Joker died and Batman failed to save him. But then it would turn out that both Harley Quinn and the Joker survived. And after Harley Quinn did some missions with the Suicide Squad in secret, her being paroled from Arkham Asylum and her being declared legally sane. Then we'd see her getting married and having kids. There's someone who turned out to be the Joker, but she didn't know it was the Joker. Then we'd see her becoming a therapist at Arkham Asylum again and her trying to help treat Poison Ivy. And because the Joker thought Batman died, the Joker personality died, and the original Joker personality from before he became the Joker came back. One would be Lucy from the Injustice universe, one would be one of her kids from the White Knight universe, and the last one would be one of her kids from the fantasy she had at the end of Mad Love.